people up
Tina is
here.
coming.
I haven't heard from her.
Yeah, and I thought they were, I thought he had contacted.
That's good. Well, I appreciate your
Yeah, well,
heading that.
part of it is them to find out how we do it.
Okay, we are live
They
here.
creating a separate. That's another thing. Haven't happened.
Okay, we're all set.
Are we live?
We are live.
Okay, well, we are a little short today. I don't know if Christina, did she say she's coming or not?
I have not heard
Christina?
anything from her, so maybe she's running late. I'm not sure.
Okay. So hopefully we will have at least one more member. We are missing also Chris Moen, who wrote in a little bit ago and mentioned she is ill today. She's home with the stomach flu, so she may be listening in. Anyway, I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we'll take a roll call. John Sampson here.
Les Barber here.
Will Roddy Bush here.
Chris Moen is ill, and Christina Tracy hopefully is on her way. Could we have a motion for approval of the minutes for the last meeting? We do have a quorum, don't we?
Yes, three is a
out of-
quorum.
okay,
Mhm.
Okay, good.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for the January 25th meeting.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nobody is opposed. Okay, very good. We move on to administrative items, and first of all, our next meeting schedule, as I see it, it would be on March 22nd. Does that sound correct?
Correct.
Does that work for you, Will?
4 o'clock.
Les, you okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, so.
I may not be here, but Martha can sit in my place because it is spring break. So just a heads up.
Okay, thank you. So we'll plan on that. By the way, just to mention, Les Barber was listening online last meeting. And hello.
Oh, apologies for being late.
Christina Tracy has just arrived.
You only missed approving the minutes.
Okay.
That's right. And our roll call. So, you are here, good. But Les was saying just a moment ago that we need to really speak into the microphones so that anyone listening online can hear us. Apparently, I was the only one that could be heard. Is that right, Les?
Well, that I could consistently hear. And
Okay.
It certainly reminded me that I don't pay much attention to this. Ordinarily, I should clearly pay more attention.
So we'll stay awake on the microphone detail. Okay, well, I know that as I said, Chris Moen cannot be here. She sent some minutes or some items that we can refer to throughout the meeting. And she is also developing a document, which we really appreciate, on standards for historic treatment and construction, as well as a definition of historic periods. And that's in the construction stages of her writing, but we appreciate her putting that together. We have a special guest, Hallie Williams. Are you Hallie? Nice to meet you. All right. And I know you have kind of a limited timetable. Is that right? Okay, so we are going to go right to you, and we appreciate your being here. Hallie is, I want to be sure I got this right, Community Affairs Coordinator for the City of Bowling Green, correct? Okay, thank you very much for coming. And we would appreciate knowing what you do.
It'd probably be good to have her in the
Microphone.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're going to sound like a nag.
That's okay. I fixed my voice. I didn't quite understand why people always said I was so loud growing up. And then I came home for our family reunion and I realized, oh, this is a genetic. I throw my voice pretty easily. So yes, thank you guys for having me. I'm the Community Affairs Coordinator for the City of Bowling Green. This is a new position that the city has just hired, I came in October. So I'm handling a lot of the communications with the help of Amanda Gamby and Joe Fawcett, and kind of a trickle down from the mayor and Lori and whatnot. So we're trying to make sure that we're proactive in our messaging. We want to make sure that the community knows about all the great work that we're doing. And then we're also taking care of public emergencies, hirings, all of those sort of things. So my job is doing a lot of writing, a lot of graphic design, a little photography here and there, just keeping up to date on all the different events and activities that we have going on here in Bowling Green. So I am more than happy to lend my skills to you guys. I know you have some projects that you guys were interested in doing and getting some feedback from the community, which we can definitely make happen. Our reach through our communications team, we have multiple social media accounts. So we have the main, we have the main city Facebook page, and we also have a Twitter account. So we can get in contact with people in that manner. We also have a Parks and Recreation Facebook page, and we are managing the Bowling Green Community Center page. In addition to that, we're updating all of our web pages on a day-to-day basis as needed, as different activities and events are going on. But then we also have a weekly newsletter. So that newsletter goes out to right around 1,800 people on a weekly basis and has an open rate of 50 to 60% each week. So we're trying to make sure that our residents are staying up to date. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think a whole lot about the people behind me flipping on the switches in my home. I don't think a whole lot about the people who work so hard, to keep the water on. I live in the country, so my water is terrible. I wish I was on city water. I wish I had the wonderful team that we have here to have a good, safe water. The water in my home is, it's a saga. I could be here all day telling you guys about that. But we have wonderful employees that are doing some really thankless work here in the community. And so we want to make sure that we're bringing some light to that, and then just keeping residents up to date on how to be good residents, kind of, how to maintain their home, keeping them up to date with refuse and recycling, anything and everything city related. It's our job to get that out. We want to make sure that everybody has a chance to get that information and we can be proactive with it. So I know you guys have some fun projects coming up that I'd love to partner with you guys on. Give me a little guidance, and hopefully we can whip up some good work, and we can get the feedback or meet you guys' goals.
That's great.
Yeah.
Do we have some questions for Hallie?
Do you do news releases to the local media?
Yes. I'm not the only one who does them, but yes, our whole team, we do different press releases. It kind of depends on maybe who's in the office for the day or who knows more about the project. So yes, we do all the press releases as well.
So, I have thought in my mind that maybe we needed to have some kind of liaison with the local media, but it sounds like maybe we have it.
Yeah, that's essentially,
okay.
That's a good way to put my job.
Okay.
Liaisoning. Yeah. Getting everybody connected in the right manner and making sure that we get those messages out to as many streams as possible. We have a wonderful, diverse population here. And so some of our residents are more in tune via social media. Some of our residents are more in tune on print media. So we want to make sure that everybody has that information.
Right.
And
Yes.
this maybe just education on my part.
Mhm.
How is what you're doing different than the this?
So Visit BG is more so focusing around all the downtown, all of the businesses. We're focusing more on specific municipality work.
Okay.
Of our departments.
Okay.
Yeah, if we were tackling all of that, we would need a pretty deep staff.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, even just here in the city alone.
Yeah.
We have a lot going on, a lot of communications to get out, a lot of projects, a lot of things to update and, have good branding on, and make sure we've got a lot of stuff that we'd like to update, make sure that we have our forms appropriate for everyone, any brochures, we want to make sure that those are up to date. So those are some projects that we have going on at any
Okay.
given time of the year.
One of the things that we're working on is possibly coming up with or reinstating the walk,
Yes.
which I'm super excited about.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, reinstating that. It sounds like it was something that, the city was doing years ago, several years ago, I think,
Mhm.
5 or 6 or whatever
Yeah.
it was. But, I was fortunate enough to be on a board in downtown.
Yeah.
And they had an incredibly successful program. And I was just, and I intend to reach out to them just to kind of get the nuts and bolts of how they started that program. But, that would definitely be something I partner with you on.
Yeah.
To get,
Set up and running
education
again.
And like some promotional things
Mhm.
for it, that sort of stuff. But
I'd love to work with you guys on that. I think that'd be a really fun project, but also a really nice piece to add to the community.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lot of buildings that and homes and businesses that we highlight that are really
Yes.
special downtown. So
Yeah. We were thinking a few little projects like that in Parks and Rec. Different, but there's ways that we could do that even with some audio paired in too, that residents could tap in and possibly listen to a podcast recording or something of that specific building or location, that there could be some different routes that maybe would not just be like a normal placard or a handout or a printout, but maybe we could also be a little more ADA compliant too.
yeah, I really like that idea. I love that idea. So Cleveland, so Gateway District,
Yeah.
and historic Gateway District, Cleveland, they have a program called Take a Hike,
Okay.
and it's actually through, or they're waiting at certain venues, and it's at specific times, and you go, and they're all waiting for you to show up, and it's wildly popular. But anyway, so you show up and they talk about who they are, like they may be a historical figure themselves, like
Okay.
dressed up, and maybe they lived in this particular home, and they
Yeah.
talk about their relevance to the city and things like that. That's my
Pretty cool.
dream, would be to do that. Maybe partner with the
Mhm.
university or the high school to
Yeah.
have some
Oh, that could be fun. And we can maybe partner with some events that are going on.
bingo. Yep.
Yes, absolutely. I like it. I have partaken in a few walking tours myself. Our favorite, we went to Edinburgh a few years ago and we did an evening walking tour down in all the, not really catacombs, but all these closes and whatnot. And it was the same sort of thing, that we got all the nice in-person
Mhm.
walking tour with all of that good
Yeah.
nitty gritty detail, all the shady stuff too, the sneaky stuff.
So
Yeah.
that's interesting. That's funny. So one of our employee, my husband and I own company,
Yeah.
and one of our employees used to work for the Maumee Bay Brewing Company,
Yeah.
and they have that venue that Maumee Bay is in is actually a historical venue. And the house, I can't think of the name of the house. What is the house, Heather? Do you know? Anyway, it's a hotel now, or it was actually built as a hotel, and then it went through several iterations. Then they turned it back into like a bed and breakfast or a Airbnb, something of that. But anyway, many folks would say that the building was haunted, and so
Ooh.
during the fall season, they would do haunted brew tours, and they would have again actors there, or like a paranormal person would be talking about who lived in the apartments and who did. I just think we need to find one of our buildings, see if it's haunted, so we can have
Clark Gables Hotel.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yes.
but anyway, that was another thing that like an activity for people to do. But I just thought that was really neat engagement.
And one of the things that we found out after we mentioned was the last meeting that we were wanting to do a walking tour, all of a sudden we found out that there are other plans in motion by, is it the library?
Yes.
So we need your help, Hallie, in knowing these things or helping us know them so that we don't double
No
up.
duplication of services. Amplification of services.
Yeah,
That's
and,
the
and
goal.
certainly we could be partners
Yes.
with the
Yeah,
library, and I
right.
think that's maybe a direction that we would want to.
Yeah, for the record, I think we need to make it clear to everyone that we know about this, and we're
Yeah.
gonna take the initiative to be in touch with the library staff so that we
Right.
can
Absolutely.
cooperate on such things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you may
Exciting.
know about things that we don't, and we appreciate that
Yeah.
knowledge, that information. I think that would be
Absolutely.
valuable.
Yeah.
So if we have a project, or we need to make contact with you, shall we set up a meeting? Would you prefer, emails? How do you like to communicate?
I'm flexible any which way. You're best to get me via email. I'm pretty quick response to it. But Heather, if you could share or my contact and Amanda's contact with them, I'd really appreciate that we can meet in person. We can meet via Zoom. I'm more than happy to go and grab a cup of Joe with you guys. Or, well, not much of a beer drinker, but we'll pop down to Juniper anytime. But yes, I'd love to just kind of hear more about you guys' plans and ideas and overall goals and see what we can do. I'll do some fact finding with the library in the meantime, and hopefully we can get the ball rolling,
Great.
get
So-
the ball walking.
Just a couple of quick things.
Sure, Les.
First is that about the emails. For some reason, the city website no longer provides emails for city employees. Is there some legal reason for that? It's, I wanted to send something to the mayor and city council. There's no emails,
Maybe that's why.
phone
they never-
numbers, but no emails
You mean on the directory?
on the website, city website.
I'll double check on that.
Yeah, it just seems odd that we wouldn't be able to communicate that way even with our council people. We'd have to know our council person's emails.
Yeah, I thought they used to be there, but I,
Yeah, they used to
haven't
be. They did
looked.
used to be.
Um,
I wonder why they're not there now. Anyhow.
It may
that's an
be
aside.
hyperlinked though, Les. You might have to hover over the person's name and it's not the address.
I think I hovered a lot.
Okay,
So-
that's one of the things that I know we're supposed to try and use the hyperlinks for
Really?
ADA
Yeah.
compliance.
Huh.
And contacting people in that manner. That they're there, because I've looked up a few council members' emails on the webpage
Well,
myself.
it would be
But I'll-
nice to have a little direction about that.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I'll
The-
double check on the.
the other
directory as
thing I
well.
had was a question. So I think I received the weekly.
Yep,
That's the one that
e-news.
always ends with the COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. So am I missing things that would be on the website on a daily basis?
No, any news, any activities coming up, most of the time are going to be in the
yeah.
e-news, or they will be linked back to the webpage to give you more information on
okay.
that.
Okay,
Yeah, so
okay.
you're reading the e-news gets you if you're up to date on that, you're a pretty good and up to date citizen, knowing all the
Okay,
things that
okay.
are going on here.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Good.
no problem.
If we wanted to, let's say we were actually working with the library to make this walking tour.
Yeah.
And we wanted some things printed. Are you able to do that? Can you
Yeah, well,
create materials for us?
to some extent, we can definitely, if you're wanting some formal materials printed on, some good brochures, that
Right.
kind of stuff, we'd want to outsource that to a local business and make sure that they're printed in the highest quality, and then making sure that they're in the right locations, the library, or, anywhere around town.
So essentially, we have no budget.
well,
So
we have a budget. It's about,
Oh, we do have.
we budgeted about 1,500 for
Okay.
Historic Preservation Commission, but we share that with Planning Commission and our other board that we have. So our department, we're pretty lean,
Yeah,
but I did originally budget that. So I would plan around 1,000 to 1,500
okay.
for this year, for this budget year.
But that's for all three committees, or just when you say 1,500 for all three of them, maybe we've got $500.
I budgeted 1,500 for us, but
For
again, it's an
us.
estimate, and sometimes things come up with another commission that we have to cover.
Okay,
So in a roundabout way, we plan around 1,500, but we also have that donation, don't forget, that is allocated strictly for the
Right.
HPC.
And John, just to give you a little grounds, I've been quoting some other print projects for the city and other departments. We can get about 500 nice brochures printed for about $250.
okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, that budget would be very healthy.
And that would be coming out of our budget or out of your budget? That's what I'm,
Not
you
my
have no
budget.
budget either. Okay, all right.
I don't have
just
much of a
wondered. I was
budget.
hoping you had some money.
Yeah.
All right, that makes it clear.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Did you want to talk the idea that you've been discussing for a long time now, which is highlighting a building
Yes,
each month, or
And
I don't know your thought on the
know about-
timeline.
Thank you, Heather. You know, maybe that we've mentioned this in the past about having a building or a house of the month
Yeah.
that we'd like to highlight. And you could help us advertise that
Yeah.
and make an announcement about that. Show a picture,
Yeah,
maybe some
Absolutely.
data.
I think that would be really fun. Very nice content that would go great on our social media pages, on our e-news. We could keep that up to date. And then I'm assuming that the content, if it pairs with the walking tours, it would be that same kind of information, the historical significance of each building. I am not a photographer. I can line up stuff pretty good with my iPhone, and I can seem to take okay pictures of my toddler who's always running, and they're not always blurry. But so we could always outsource some photography if need be. We are doing some partnership with some BGSU students in their final communications projects. So I do have one student who's kind of floating around town and taking pictures for us. So we could do something like that too. And I think it'd be a great, like a fun, positive piece. You know,
Right,
it's not
right.
always, oh, well, here's more snow updates, or, you know, it brings some joy back to,
Yeah,
to reading, you know?
That would be good, I think.
Yeah, that's the thing. With my job, I get to do some real fun stuff and real nice, positive stuff. And then there's some stuff where, oh, another road closure, darn it.
Would you write the piece, or would you want us to have it all prepared and then hand it to you?
Ideally, if you guys could help me with all the content with regard to the correct names of the buildings, locations, all the historical significances, as much fun as I have in the county records office. I've done that before for our family farm. If you guys could help me, you know, dig up all of that history and all of those pieces, I can help edit it down, you know, fluff it up and make more of a story out of it.
Okay.
But if you guys can get me those good nitty gritty details, and, you know, I could do a little more fact finding of any current owners or occupants, that we can definitely work together in something.
Great.
Absolutely.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Haley.
Yeah,
Appreciate your
I
I am
visiting.
here at your disposal.
One more I think we should discuss is May as the National Historic Preservation Month, that I know Chris Moen is working on some ideas. So I think we would want help with that for sure once you know, finalize what you want to move forward. I know she talked about a scavenger hunt. So I think that clearly we would need a social media piece to that. I don't know what that will look like yet. But just wanted you to be aware of May, if that could kind of
No,
be a
that would be wonderful.
placeholder. And then once we know more, we could share that.
We've done some pieces for Fire Safety Month, or at least that I have lived through so far, through social media and specifically our e-news, on keeping residents up to date on keeping their homes safe, fire alarms, that kind of stuff. This could possibly be a nice piece to include in our e-news as well, on why history is important, why it's significant, you know, maybe a few 500-word pieces or something that if you guys wanted to include, and just like more information about what you guys all do, maybe about yourselves, or why these projects are important to you guys. I think those would be some really nice pieces that could help residents better understand all the other facets that go on in this city.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Well, what kind of lead time do you need to get it out?
Ideally a month. So
Okay.
we can get it on our radar. I can turn out stuff pretty quick, but you never know when that road closure or snowstorm is going to come in and
Yeah,
give
yeah.
us some urgent communications. So ideally a month. And we can help you guys write out a press release. We like to start with a press release, and then we can build everything out from there. And then I'll be in contact with you guys on what's our preferred audience, who are we trying to address, who are we trying to educate, and then grow from there. And then I'll make sure that we put together a full communications package. You guys will obviously have a chance to edit those items. You'll review it. any edits. And that's why we ask for a month too, so we can go through that process
Mhm.
and make sure we're getting out correct information, that we're all okay on. I'm not making any spelling errors or calling something by the wrong name,
Right.
those happen. But since you guys know more than I do on this and a lot of other things, that we can make sure that we're getting out the right information.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very
Awesome.
much.
No
Appreciate it.
problem. I'm excited to work with you guys.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think we'll save a little more talking about the House of the Month project or the walking tour towards the end of our meeting today. But it's great to have some extra help. We appreciate that. Next on the, I have a couple more updates in the administrative items I just want to share with you quickly. We had Barbara and I and Heather had a meeting on February 7th with Mayor Aspacher. And I think it was a very positive meeting. Did we send out a report on that? I don't think we did.
I thought Les did.
Just
Yeah.
to
Just
the
a little.
HPC.
So you all saw that.
Summary, I think.
Okay, great. So you kind of know what happened there, but for our public, we discussed what might be a focus for the HPC as far as moving forward with a nomination of historic districts and buildings. We talked about the process and procedure for the police building, the Needle Hall, and the old post office. We talked about getting involved with the downtown community, doing everything we can to make friends. We have a lot of friends already, but we want to have everybody on our side.
Can always use more friends.
We all need more friends. And then we talked about the public outreach and the city outreach staff. That was a mayor's idea to have Hallie come and speak with us today. So we appreciate that time to talk with the mayor and to get his ideas about the future. Heather, you had a couple messages to us about the ARPA funds and about possible plaques that we talked about that last time.
Okay, well, ARPA funds, I was just promoting that there is a survey that we hope the community takes to help the city define those next priorities for spending that money. And second to that, as I know we've discussed a lot about the plaque or historic site markers, I did reach out to City of Perrysburg. I don't know if you've noticed in their downtown, they actually have, I don't know the right terminology. Basically, they are standalone, I guess, I hate to say plaques. What am I looking at? Kiosk, I guess maybe is a type of word.
Yeah.
But they highlight historic buildings there and events. And they were done several years ago. So unfortunately, the gentleman that did head up that project has passed away. But Historic Perrysburg, they do have a board and some members that are looking into historically what they paid for those. And they believe they got them from Canada. So again, I asked them to not spend a lot of time on it. I just really, I think they are very impactful and they've been very successful for their self-guided walking tours and tourism. They've had a lot of people that come from all over the US to look at their downtown and do that self-guided tour and read those kiosks. So again, that's just some additional information. And then I also reached out to the State Historic Preservation Office to ask, who does these plaques? And I had shared that link to you of the different places.
Right.
Well, ironically, I think we're lucky that we have one in Fremont, which would be the closest. And I think that would be nice to make that connection and see what they can do. I've not gotten that far yet. Of course, I got their information, so I'm happy to reach out and see those varying costs. I'm sure it depends on sizes, who would design them, edit and make sure that's doable. Now, one caution, if you do attach one of these to a building, that was what, if you remember, Nathan Bevel from SHPO had said, be very cautious how those get attached to buildings if that ends up being something. But we had gotten that idea too from Bell Fountain, who is doing that very nice work on celebrating their history and doing these plaques on buildings. They're actually asking for sponsors. And I think I sent you that link too. But I think it's a lot of ideas for sure. But again, building that excitement, the education in your community, and learning about the history of your community. So I'll
Yeah.
keep doing my end, what I can do on research, and we can go from there.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
And
thank
you said Fremont, there's
There is a company
place that
there.
makes
Mhm.
these.
Yes. Correct.
That's great. So we'll have to investigate that when we're a little farther along, but that's.
Yeah, well, I looked at the website and I think it's going to take a phone call because the website was pretty bare bones. There wasn't a lot of information. So,
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, well, I want to jump right into our discussion about our strategic plan. We might, just as a side note here, when we get down to number 6, commission member updates, we may just mention briefly some ideas that have come up about our consultants and advisors that we've been talking about last month. I didn't put that on the agenda, but we might just have time for a little bit of discussion on that. Let's look at the strategic plan as revised by Les. Thank you for doing that. And this is partially a result of our meeting with Mayor Aspacher.
Did they already get the?
yes.
So Les,
Sorry,
you,
this didn't go out to you ahead of time. It should have, but I guess I slipped up on that.
Oh,
You-
I'm sure it did. I just was asking for a copy of it.
No. I mean, I don't think any of us.
Oh.
I think I failed to send it out to the
Okay.
members ahead of time.
You got it though, right? Did you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
making sure.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you. Les, do you want to just talk us through what
Yeah.
what we're
Okay,
proposing?
just briefly, the note at the beginning, I think is self-explanatory. We just don't want the public to think that we are not going to eventually try to deal, especially with Main Street. But partly with the advice of the mayor, we decided that it would be smart to concentrate on Boomtown for our initial effort. Thinking that we need time and the development time to help with action with Main Street. So that's just to make sure everybody understands that this is a first step, and the goal is simple. It's to achieve city council approval for listing the Boomtown area, maybe with some small additions, that remains to be seen, on our local register as part of a Bowling Green historic district. I think, listed these strategies that we need to take that we've talked about a little bit before. So I don't need to go into them in any detail, but I think the point here is that if we approve this officially, we're committing ourselves to something pretty focused and strenuous. There's going to be a lot of work involved, not all of it by us individually, which is why we need friends and maybe advisors and maybe hired help, especially for building inventories. But, these are not going to be easy things. The endorsement of Mayor Aspacher, we're very hopeful that he will be willing publicly to endorse this plan. And at the appropriate time, hopefully he will do that. The listing of the buildings, that hopefully everything is in process. I don't need to say anything more about that. Mini Bowling Green historic districts. This is not going to happen automatically. So we need to talk not today necessarily, but we need to talk about how are we going to try to initiate the creation of mini boomtowns. We didn't really talk about it in any depth, but John's area on Maple Street might be an obvious possibility. The area at the eastern end, where Gail Nader lives, that might be another possibility where we could relatively easily get mini boom towns
Is there
as
housing around
a
the,
sort of start, as part of the educational process.
Was there housing around the Heinz plant specifically for the Heinz plant? Some of the small housing right close to it?
But
No, that Boomtown is.
No, I worry it, but I mean, talking about a mini, was there a area there right beside the, where the Heinz plant used to be? Some of those really small houses, I wonder if there were
I would see that,
workers housing or.
yeah, I would see that though as a different district.
Yeah,
Yeah, yes, that's what I was saying, like
Yeah.
a mini,
Right. I mean,
another, like a
and-
mini
and-
district.
But I meant these to be mini districts within Boomtown.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
And so that sort of thing is a really promising idea for the future, but I think it's beyond these 3 years because we're gonna have plenty to do with what we're
So,
proposing here.
so let's just to be clear, what you're proposing is that we don't try to get the whole area at one time, but we should do it in little pieces. Is that
I'm
right?
saying that I'm seeing this as steps we can take in the first and second year to get us to the whole thing
Okay,
at the end of the third year.
okay.
And I think that these could be named the Bowling Green Historic District A, Bowling Green Historic District B, so that it's clear that eventually we're going to have a single larger
Okay.
historic district, that those would be incorporated into automatically. Okay, anyhow, and then 4 is also something that we're going to have to advertise. Maybe we should have mentioned this to Hallie, except maybe we're not quite ready to do that yet, but she could certainly help us by advertising to the community that we are going to welcome and in fact encourage individual owners to propose their homes or their downtown buildings as listed properties. And again, they would ultimately, hopefully be folded into a larger single Bowling Green Historic District. But again, a big educational effort, not one that will necessarily be easy, but I think there it's just sort of like advertising the possibility to people. Okay, I'm talking too much, sorry. The inventory, we know the inventory is gonna be hard work. The people that we already have some folks who volunteered to help. If we can find a way of getting them trained on how to do building inventories, I think they could help us there.
Mhm.
But we're going to need grant money from SHPO and perhaps other places to hire part-time people. I don't know. We need to know from other communities. Heather, maybe you know something of this from the national organization and the state organization. Is it possible to simply hire part-time researchers?
We might be
Yeah.
able to ask the Heritage Ohio folks.
Yeah.
The Heritage Ohio folks know that, Chris.
Yep.
Yeah, Chris may have that.
Well, she would know much more than I about any of this, but that's the organization that I would reach out to.
Well, then
Okay, I
I
mean,
think,
the main point
not to
I-
back up, but also Salim, who has been here from BGSU, I would think.
Like co-op.
It might be we can get help from the
Students, yeah.
university, from that department or other departments that maybe somebody, there's somebody in history who teaches a local history course fairly regularly. Maybe she would be interested in having some of her students do projects that
Yeah.
could do this sort of thing. So anyway, I think I've said enough. I mean, the rest is self-explanatory. We need publicity, we need education, and then the developing community acceptance. Here are some of the things that we can try to do.
No, I think it's good, and it's good to have a timetable to shoot for. We don't know if we can make it, but I think that puts it in writing what we're hoping to accomplish down the road.
I think it's ambitious, but I think it's realistic. It would mean that in that third year, we would have to conduct that survey of all owners in the Boomtown area to see what kind of percentage of support we'd have. But if we have a reasonable percentage of support, then I think we go ahead with a recommendation to council. Hopefully they would approve it.
The strategic plan has been whittled down and changed 2 or 3 times. I think as far as I'm concerned, it's in pretty good shape. Do we have any concerns? None from
Well, then to
Christina?
focus things, I will move that the HPC adopt the official 3-year strategic plan as set forth in this document dated February 22nd, 2022.
Second.
Good. Any further discussion? Okay, call for a vote. Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent.
Okay, we have a plan,
So,
but it requires concentration.
and I think the mayor was willing to present this to council. Is that right? Are we sending this with our other materials? Or this would just be for his office?
I need to go back and look at
Yeah.
our notes, but I think the idea is that we would find a way of presenting this to, well, no, I think that what he said was, if we adopt this plan officially and ask him and inform him, Heather, and we rely on you, that he will speak about it
To the
at
city
the city
council.
council.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Sorry there, I am backing away from my microphone again.
He wanted our approval, our official
Yes.
approval, which we have just given. So if we can, and should I send this on to the mayor? Or
Oh, I can do that. Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Very
Perfect.
good. Well, that was reasonably easy. Thanks for your work on that, especially Les, but all of this. So we'll move right on. We do have some discussion about the local building designations and discussion also about the process of how this will unfold. So why don't we start with the police building in Needle Hall? We have a letter at this point from Chris Moen, which was it was a draft of a letter to go to the council. But Heather, can you talk us through one more time how this all is supposed to work? Do we need to have city council agree that they're the owners and that they would allow us to make a proposal? Is that how this works?
At my last conversation or email with the mayor, we have Mike Marsh that already did a very early draft of an ordinance. And so as they foresee it, the HPC can recommend to council that this be designated, those 2 buildings. So as I see it, you would go ahead and schedule your public hearing for the next meeting, because we do have to, advertise that. And then from there, you would do your recommendation, and then council has this ordinance in waiting. However, what I foresee they do is then they give it to planning commission, and then planning commission make their recommendation back to council, just as it's written in the ordinance. And then the ordinance is already ready to go.
Don't we have to have, doesn't that little ordinance that Mike wrote up, doesn't that simply give the city's council's consent?
No, it's actually,
Not consent to create the
it says
listing, but
authorizing the placement of the police building on West Wooster Street and Needle Hall and City Park on the local historic register as suggested by the Historic Preservation Commission.
okay. So
That's how he wrote it.
Now I'm lost. We have to have the owner's consent before we can recommend?
I think what
How do
he's
we-
saying is that you're recommending as a commission that they go ahead and do that. And so I think at that point, they are giving their consent if they were to approve that ordinance, or at least forward it to planning commission for review. So I think he's saying it's not really necessary.
Okay, so the 2 things kind of go together.
Correct.
Good.
Certainly, if they didn't approve the ordinance, they're
We
not
are
agreeing there
we
with
are
their consent.
Representatives of the committee of the city or something.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, well, then we're ready to go. We set for public hearing next meeting, right?
And at the same time, do we submit those letters of or does that come after our public hearing? the letters that,
Probably.
I see that after because you're at that public hearing, you're taking any public comment, and then you're going to turn around and do a recommendation
and revise if. need
to
be.
council.
Okay,
Okay, so we speak orally in the public hearing about the plan, answer questions, and but the document then comes.
And I also see you presenting your building inventory as part of that public hearing
Okay.
with the recommendation.
good. And then,
So should that be sent then ahead of time as part of the, or can just be a handout at the public
or
hearing?
just. a
Yeah,
dis-
I think that's
or
fine.
Discussion.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
I have a silly question and it's more of a process question. So when you go to the public hearing, you're just saying to the public, this is our intention to make this recommendation. Do you have any commentary on it? That's the whole point of the public hearing. correct?
Basically, and I
Okay.
did a draft public hearing for the chair to follow. And then I think I emailed it to y'all at some point, but I
Yeah.
know we've had a lot of emails. It basically follows similar to what we do at our planning commission because we hold a lot of public hearings. So I thought we could adapt that
Yeah. Okay.
to the subject matter. So if you have any changes on that, we can do that, but I thought at least helps you guide through what a public hearing would normally look like. But essentially, you're giving a format for the public to pose any questions, concerns.
I'm looking for my copy right now.
I don't
I'm
think I
sorry.
brought that. I brought everything else but
No,
that.
that's okay. But then what we're doing then is taking that public commentary then to the commission and saying, hey, we're recommending this. And here was the commentary from the public, right?
Yeah, I mean, normally with plan commission, they're just thinking about it as they interact with the public. It's not really part of the next phase. It's really part of, oh, that's a good point, or I hear what you're saying. It doesn't really have to move forward because we do have minutes, obviously. So any
Okay.
of that can be reflected in the minutes.
Is
That
the
makes sense.
commission there at the hearing?
So you would hold your own public hearing
Okay,
and then council has to hold a public hearing.
okay,
But planning commission, it's not mandatory. So it'll be up to planning commission whether or not they schedule a hearing. And then planning commission would give their recommendation.
Right.
Yes, council, I agree. This should be designated on the local register, or no, we don't. And here are the reasons why.
so it's HPC, commission, council.
Technically HPC council, and then council would kick it to planning commission. And then planning commission makes a recommendation to council. It's a lot. It's like
confusing. Do you have a
it's-
process map for that?
Actually, we did. We did do one early on. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
well, somebody send
It
it to
is.
me, please.
Yeah,
It's very, yes, it's complicated. And this is a
Yeah.
little different because it's not,
Is that
it's coming
every-
from the HPC.
Is that typical of all municipalities, how they kind of work with their commissions and then their council, like committees? Is that a typical process? Is there a special?
It is because it's like a zoning change in a
Okay.
way. This is a little different because we're not really reflecting it on a map per se
Sure.
with an overlay zoning. We're
Mhm.
putting it on our local register as a listed property. But yeah, it's typical. I mean,
Although it will be a zoning change too, or won't that apply in these two cases?
I don't think it would, in my opinion, the way the ordinance was written. It was written not as a historic overlay zoning. It was written as to be on the register. And it would be a little strange with this one because you're not designated all of City Park.
Right.
So
Oh, I see.
it's a little different.
Well, we have to leave it to you to decide that. But I mean, ordinarily, there would be a zoning
Right.
component of listing. Say, if my home
Mhm.
was listed,
Yeah.
there would be a zoning
Mm-hmm,
overlay for that property.
mm-hmm.
But
Right.
since this is city property,
Same like the university properties is,
yeah,
we
we
got governmental owners.
yeah, we're not, we're not gonna touch any zoning
city
there.
and-
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But once this is accepted and voted on by council and by the planning commission, then that is under our jurisdiction to watch over, let's say, Needle Hall and make sure that that's not going to be torn down. Is that correct? I mean, we have that authority.
I'm not our city attorney, but I would say it would go through a COA approval process. I mean, a lot of that is symbolic. And that's really what a great way to really interact, I think, and provide advice.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, as I understand it, the city is willing through the the mayor primarily is willing to say, yes, we will follow the procedures outlined in the ordinance. And
And
that
pr-
would
and
involve
protect
asking
this
for a
structure.
COA if they
Yep, yep.
propose some change.
Okay. One thing, Heather, that I thought was in our ordinance was that planning commission had to do a hearing. I just assumed they didn't. A public hearing. I
no,
think it's
I-
kind of redundant, but I thought I read that we should look back on that again.
Yeah, I can do that. I think they don't have to. They don't have to now for rezonings. Quite
Okay.
honestly, they don't have to. It's just been their policy that they would
Okay,
hold hearings for every rezoning request.
okay.
Council's required to, planning commission is not. It
Good.
just seemed to me, it's up to planning commission whether or not they hold it. To me, just going over the process, it seems really redundant to have 3 different public hearings. But that'll be up to, I think, the planning commission to set their policy on what they would do.
Okay, good, good. Okay, so can we agree to do a public hearing next meeting? Starting at 5 o'clock, for example? We meet at 4 o'clock? Or do we have to have a special extra meeting date?
Planning commission sets their agendas a month ahead of time, so it would be just on their regular meeting agenda.
I would suggest, John, that we do it right at the beginning of the meeting. I mean, it's probably foolish of me to predict this, but I can't imagine that there is going to be
Uh-huh.
any
Not these two.
significant
Sure.
concern. There may be some people who are interested and may come and say they think it's a good idea or
Yeah,
maybe even a bad idea, but I don't think it's likely to take very long.
okay, well,
Good.
I'm happy doing it at 4 o'clock also.
Okay. Then after that's done, we just proceed with our meeting agenda, whatever. it is.
And that obviously would be the most important thing right now. So if it takes more time, then that's the way we go.
Right.
And would this public hearing be for both the police city building and for Needle Hall? Is that correct?
Up to you, if that's
I
what
think We're
you're,
ready to go. I mean,
We're not,
Will's material looks really good for Needle Hall.
yeah,
We've seen
thank you. Thank you for putting that in the photos. That's great. Nice job on that.
I think we can actually set a time frame for the public hearing too. That's
well, as we do, planning
Right.
commission, you would set it for that date. And normally what we would do on our agenda, same with zoning board, is we still have our roll call, approval of minutes, then we would go right into the public hearing. So we would still say that 4 PM technically is the hearing, because that's the start time of the meeting.
but we couldn't list it as, say, 15 minutes, 4 to 4:15.
Normally, we don't do that
You
because
don't
we
do
have
that.
no
Okay.
idea how many
Okay.
people would
All
show
right.
up, if it would be
Right.
0 or 10.
Okay.
You don't know.
Okay, so I think this is, pass that down to Heather. I
Yeah.
think this is your directives for the hearing. Is that correct? Or do you have other ones?
Yes, nope, this was it. Mhm.
Okay, could you send another copy
Oh,
to
absolutely.
all of the commission so that we can all be prepared to know what we're going to do?
So-
And then I think we need one person to do to talk about the city building and one person to do Needle Hall as
Yeah.
a kind of
Maybe
a summary.
that should be Chris and Will who
Do Needle Hall.
did the most.
Okay,
Is there adequate time for advertising for the public hearing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
mhm.
okay.
Yes.
do we want to advertise?
Well, I mean, I think there's legal things that have.
I think you have to.
Besides that, okay.
Yeah, and it'll be, it goes to the media, all
Yeah.
our agendas. Yeah, do.
Okay. So according to Heather's directives, which I really appreciate, there's an announcement of the purpose of the public hearing, and then a summary for the reason of the nominations, and that's where you would present and talk about the importance of the building. Testimony from the public. Any member could come forward and ask questions, the commission discussion or questions, and then there would be a vote at the end of that. I think that's pretty clear. I think we as a commission should acquaint ourselves, which is what is in the inventory, so we really can share in speaking about support of those nominations. Good.
Yeah, so I would recommend, once you're ready, you can officially set that for your next meeting.
Once we're ready,
Do we
Mhm.
need,
right now, do
do we
Yeah,
need a
if
motion?
want
If
us
you're
to do that?
ready.
we need to take a vote on that?
Well, planning commission, the chairman just says we're going to set this rezoning for public hearing once he reads.
I am setting it. Okay, 4:00, your next meeting.
So setting
22nd.
the public hearing
Public
for
hearing, 4:00.
Needle Hall,
Needle Hall and
and
city building, this
the police, I would say
police
police.
building.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
And we don't need to say Needle Hall in parentheses Floral Hall, do we?
No.
No,
Okay,
I'm gonna pass out the same thing I sent to you. I have the paper copies here.
great.
These I put
So,
names on. some.
Question, Heather. So ordinarily, then the agenda for that meeting then would have an agenda item where we can officially do the recommendation to council.
normally we just would say on the agenda, so number 3, I would put public hearings or
Right.
public hearing, and then I would list under A each item separately, or we could do them together. Again, it doesn't matter. We could do Needle Hall first, and then we could do police
But I'm
building.
just wondering, once we can, during the public hearing, we don't make any motion, right?
Right, normally you would do
Close the public
the outline
hearing.
and then do your
And that,
vote.
and the agenda will lead us to do that. But
Yeah.
You kind of take care of that, you and John.
Yeah, I think between John and I, but yes,
Yeah, okay.
that's why I tried to provide the outline. I think the outline at the end says that. If I remember right, that you would then call for a
Yes,
motion.
Okay.
there'd be a
Yeah.
motion to approve the designation. And the vote is then taken. The recommendations provided to city council, who
Oh,
will
it's
refer the
other way around.
designations to the planning commission. And then the city council at that point would hold a public hearing. Okay,
Good.
bravo. We're moving forward. Do we need to talk anymore about, well, I think both inventories are in pretty good shape. I have to look at the one for city building again, but I think it looks really good.
It could be, Needle Hall could be a good specimen because the roof, and you said something that's in the budget, it'll be kind of interesting to see if this gets approved. You know, and they do a COA, you know, whether they go back to say the wood shingles or asphalt or, you know.
Okay, thank you. We'd then have our first COA experience.
That could be our
at
first
that.
COA.
Yeah, that's right. I think we did have a little bit of information on the courthouse. Les,
No, there's no new information
But-
since, didn't I report last
Yeah,
time? that
you did.
I had contacted Andrew Kelmar and he said that the commissioners expect to get to it soon in the new year. I think they're still waiting on the legal opinion from the the county prosecutor. So there's
Okay.
no new news.
Okay, on the University Hall, we are, I think, moving forward on that. We had some communication from Michael Marsh, who drew up a document, which I'm looking for. Is that correct, Heather? That we?
No, I believe we just edited what you had received from President Rogers. We just added
Added a
some,
couple
yeah, a very
sentences.
small edit. And then I sent it back to the mayor, and I believe I sent it back to you because you were going to be the conduit with
Right.
President Rogers.
And so we are ready to, and the mayor said that we would be the HBC would be directly communicating with the university. I have not sent that to him yet. I wanted to make sure we were all in agreement, but I don't think there's any reason why we wouldn't be.
Should an inventory be done on University Hall? For us to do or the university to
Well,
do?
I think that I think we should, yes, we should have we should have a description of University Hall, which hopefully they have and can give to us, but I don't think we have to have that
Not in the
necessarily
same-
ahead of
And not in a format like,
No,
okay,
I don't
okay.
think we need to do that.
I can ask the president if there is something, or if not,
Yeah.
We would wanna do-
Or you could save that for the April, whatever her name is. Instead of
Yeah.
bothering him with that.
right. But I have this memorandum of understanding, which I think we're ready to go with then. I'll double check that I have the right
Yeah.
form before I send it on. Heather, I'll check that with you.
I will send it to the whole committee.
Okay, beautiful. And then
It
I'll,
just has that one line addition, right, about that the university agrees to, that we can list the building.
And I
on
think,
our local
and I think the
register.
president may have to take it to their board of trustees. I mean, it may be some process. for it to-
Could be, so we should get it moving. Yeah.
Yeah,
now the original memorandum had the mayor's name on it, but it should probably have my name on it as no? Should
No, I
have-
think we would keep it in the mayor's
Keep-
name. I think he was just asking you, since you've already
Okay,
been meeting with him, to just keep going with it.
okay, so doesn't my name even need to be on there at all?
I don't think so.
Okay, I would just, once we get the mayor's signature, then I can send that document.
Or vice
forward.
versa, if you're dealing with President Rogers first.
I think it'd be stronger if we had the mayor's signature first.
Okay.
Showing that we have the city's support.
I think once we know, though, that's a final document, because I think it originally came from him, right?
Came from
President
President Rogers.
Rogers, yes.
It did, yes.
So-
We took a document to him as a sample, and then
Okay.
he had his attorney
Okay.
revise it a little bit.
So if we asked the mayor to sign, he would double check with Mike Marsh, maybe just to make sure that nothing has changed significantly.
Yeah.
Before he signed. But I think, I agree with you, John. It would be good if we could send it to the university with
With
the city
mayor's
already
signature.
committed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Might speed things up.
Okay. I was going to have Chris speak about building our inventories a little bit, but we'll save that for another meeting. So that's the updates on the local building designations. We do need to, at some point, talk about the post office facade and get that in motion, but I think let's do these other ones first. As far as updates, member updates, how are we doing on time here?
Could
Um,
I make a suggestion,
we're good.
John?
Yeah.
That since Rose is here, maybe we should do the advisory
Lobby
thing
visitation?
now instead of,
Sure.
so that
Hello,
she can
Rose.
listen in to.
Welcome. Nice to have you here. Yeah, can we segue into that and then come back to a few other items? Rose, I don't know if you want to speak to us or make an announcement of any kind. We know you are interested in being an advisor. We're still uncertain exactly how this will all develop. We do have a couple thoughts about having maybe two categories. We actually haven't talked about this very much, but one category could be a friends of the commission, people that would help and support and maybe even help do some inventories of buildings. And another category might be a consultants, for example, a builder who does a lot of historic preservation that we might want to call upon for advice or suggestions. So whether or not it actually becomes a committee or it's just a group of people that are willing to help and be advisors to us, we're not sure yet how that will go. But how would you see yourself as being supportive or instrumental in lending a voice to what the community wants? Yeah, if you could go to the podium, that would be great.
portable one, Heather.
I'm short.
So Rose, if you'd introduce yourself and tell us.
Yes, my name is Rose Drain. My husband and I purchased the Lincoln home, which is at 228 East Court Street in 2019. And then COVID happened. So we
Yeah.
haven't done a number of things that we thought we would do with our home. But I'm interested in seeing that. Did you share my questions in the email that I sent you? I sent questions regarding what the advisory committee would be.
I didn't
So-
share them. I'm sorry.
So I sort of was sending out a feeler to find out what the role of the advisory committee is and what the responsibilities are, the length of term of service, because I don't want to commit to something that's going to take me, 10 more years.
Yeah, we're
But
understand.
But since you have in the strategic plan the idea of forming a friends group, I'm an historic homeowner, so I have that point of view. But I know a couple of you also have that point of view as historic homeowners. Maybe Will, I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Years.
So we've got, so
Different
we
cities.
all have that passion, in our hearts. I think, and I'm not an expert on anything. I have a lot to learn, and I'm happy to learn, and I'm happy to help. So perhaps a friends group would be sort of more suited to what I can do. Although I do have experience in my work. I'm retired, but in my former work life, I have experience in organizing special events and promoting special events. And I was volunteer coordinator for the Wood County Board of MRDD, so developmental disabilities now. So I have that sort of experience also. So I think you can probably make good use of me.
We'd like to, yeah.
yeah,
Sounds
And,
good.
I grew up in Bowling Green, so I don't know. My husband and I lived in Missouri for 16 years, so I kind of am out of the loop with sort of the more recent residents of the community, but a lot of the old people I know. And through my work with Wood Lane, I have a lot of connections too. So that's about all.
That's great. We are also concerned about the Court Street area, and you're in that part of the city, and would be certainly a valuable person for us to know the climate of other residents and how they might feel about moving towards a district for that Court Street.
Well,
community.
Les lives there too. I think the biggest concern is the rental property owners. Who's
Yeah,
probably the bottom line interest for the rental property owners is making a profit. And so the Worcester Street idea that the city has, I think it's called improving Worcester Street, the looks of Worcester Street. I don't know what that is called, but
Yeah, like a lot of plans, but the Gateway District
the
and
Gateway
yeah.
District. All right, but if a landlord or two, a rental property owner or two doesn't get on board with that, you're going to try to have a Gateway District with a couple of huge eyesores.
Yeah.
So anyway,
right.
but with the strategic plan as it is, I'm interested in the building inventory, and I don't know what that entails. And so I'm curious about learning
Good.
more
You
about
might
that.
be interested in and helping with that. And
Yeah.
maybe starting with your own property if you don't have already an
Uh-huh.
inventory.
Well, and do you have a form that you use? It
Mhm.
sounded like you did. Yeah. So yes.
Okay.
We're actually all kind of learning how to do this too.
Uh-huh,
But
uh-huh.
I've been working on my own home and we have a Chris Moen, who's not here today, is pretty experienced and a good advisor for us as well on that.
My dad, the thing too is being a historic home owner, and several of you are, I think something that could help the commission also is for you to provide us what you need. In other words, when you get into, we're looking at the exteriors.
Mhm.
So as an architect, and I'm interested in looking at, like, does it need paint? Is it shingles? Is it siding? All the things you see, like what are you having problems with that we might be able to offer some
Deterioration of the
suggestions?
sandstone around our.
Well, those are the
our
kind of
front
things, so
porch.
you know that we don't know, and now
Right.
they may from theirs, but I think it would be good to maybe list those kinds of things to provide us, because Chris Moen started a list, like a guidelines, because we didn't want to do guidelines like Perrysburg had guidelines like this is what your screen door will look like, those kinds of things. We don't want to do that. We want to do, like, if you got a screen door that's deteriorated, like what could we do to maybe help you get it fixed so it looks back like it did historically? So there's those kinds of things.
Well, and to add to that, I mean, that's a good story for having the building doctor educational program
Yes, yes.
here
And I
in the
think
community.
I could see the landlords, even if they got a historic building, it could draw tenants if they maintain their buildings to keep the historic part, you know, let them deal with the bottom line. But if we could help them, you know, to keep it looking historic,
Well, if you remember when
They
Shippo
can-
was here,
Such an
they
optimistic
should have a
man.
better, should improve their bottom line.
well, when Shippo was here, you know, they can give you 10 reasons why it's best to keep your wood windows than get new vinyl windows in the long run cheaper. So I think that building doctor program is where I think there would be some value. I know it's not necessarily in the strategic plan, but it would be more of an educational, I guess, target or goal of that plan to have that here in the community. I think
Yeah.
they said it was a couple $100 or something. So just keep that in the back of our minds in the future.
Good. That
John,
would
you
be
should
good
put
input.
Rose's name on our list of volunteers.
I got it. It's there. It's there.
Thank you so much for your interest.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, you're welcome.
thank
Well,
you.
it's self-interest, but I also am happy about the work you're doing.
Well,
So,
thank you
thank
very
you.
much.
We don't
Appreciate
care if it's self-interest. We appreciate it.
Would this be an appropriate time for me just to outline what my personal view
Yes,
is about
sure.
these two groups?
Sure.
Not asking for any action today, because
Okay.
there is kind of an information section, but this is speaking for myself now, but I see us having two groups of people who could help us. One of them we can call advisors or counselors, doesn't matter, but
Consultants.
they would be people with certain special expertise, like a builder, for example, or somebody from the history department who might be able to provide student help, something like that.
What about the Luke,
Or,
Luke
Luke
Nichter?
Nichter.
Or like
Nichter? Yeah.
Absolutely.
that
or
person.
some people from some of the downtown organizations, et cetera, et cetera. So people with expertise or experience who could advise us when we have a need. I don't think we're talking about, I don't think we should be talking about committees or bureaucracy of any sort. Because that just adds to, that's one more thing we would have to manage, and we
More
have
informal.
enough to manage.
More informal.
But a list of advisors who would be willing to be named, maybe by the chair, and then announced to us publicly, people who would be willing to be named as advisors. But then a separate group, which I think is even more promising for our purposes, would be a friends group, a list of people like Rose who are willing to help us with tasks like building inventories. We'll need to organize some kind of training, but I think we need that for ourselves as well. Maybe with promoting special events that are educational or public related in some way. And maybe, this is in my mind, maybe by volunteering to offer to propose listing their own homes. You know, yours is like a special one in all of Bowling Green. If you and your husband were willing to do it, that would be a wonderful step for us. You know, and I could consider my home, John, maybe doesn't have, if we get a mini boomtown, then you wouldn't have to do it individually, but then we should talk to a couple of downtown business. I wonder if Greg Hallamay, he would be, I'm just wondering now, I shouldn't be talking names. I have not talked to him, I have no idea, but he was a member of the commission originally. Perhaps he would be interested in proposing the listing of his building. Anyway, those are the two groups that I see us having. Maybe at a future meeting, we could make this more formal, but so that Rose hears it, and so all of you have heard it. That's my idea.
I think it's a good one. So let's kick that around a little bit. We can revisit that and certainly other things next meeting. We do need to think about our if we want to start moving towards a house of the or building of the month, and we need a month lead time to make that happen. We'll need to think about a procedure for how we want to.
Those don't need
collect
to be,
names.
don't need to be listed, right? I mean, this is.
This is not,
pre,
there's nobody's listed right now,
okay,
so,
that's what I thought.
yeah.
Yep, don't want to wait.
But we need to think of ways of collecting or having nominations for homes, how we might choose from a group of these houses and how we would want to advertise them. I don't know. Let's maybe, are there any thoughts for 5 minutes here, and then we're going to adjourn?
I think it'd be a good target for Preservation Month in May. In honor of Preservation Month, we're going to start this new program. Once a month, we're going to highlight a historic site or building, and maybe we rotate between staff and the four of you to start out with what those buildings will be. And then maybe into the future, you start getting nominations.
I was going to comment, it might also be a good idea because of next month's significance that we just communicate the goals of this commission, right? So here are the goals of the commission, and we're going to kick it off with this special program, which is, home of the month or, building of the month, whatever we want to call it.
Mhm.
But really making folks aware of, just the happenings from a communication standpoint, meaning, with Haley.
Yeah.
I almost said Kaylee, but it's Haley. Just it's almost like a PR type thing.
Maybe we could, do you think we should ask that our strategic plan be published for this month? And then that could be our focus. And then we'll need discussion about how to figure out homes for preservation. If we do it in May, I mean, that gives us plenty of time to really come up with a way to handle that.
And you're probably not just limiting it to homes, right? Because you might have some people with buildings.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking like May could be a good one for us to pick, and then open it up to nominations for
Mhm.
individuals to,
Mhm.
if they want their house or building nominated in the future,
Perfect.
to see if there's any
Perfect.
people that want theirs
I
nominated.
see one.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Because I think that'd be good recognition.
Yep. Oh.
Maybe,
I agree with that,
Yeah.
Will. And
Mhm.
this is the kind of thing, choosing homes that a
Mhm.
committee is the worst possible place to try to do something like that.
Mhm.
All we can do is give ideas, but all of us sort of know
And
what the great buildings
Mhm.
are in Bowling
Well-
Green. So maybe you should, John, you should just ask a couple of people. Chris has already worked on it, and this Chris also has sort of been working on it.
Yeah.
Will.
even I was thinking even the police station or Needle Hall. I mean,
Right.
if the committee does just a
Right.
building and we don't have any,
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
say,
that, too.
building owners.
I was just
yet
gonna
to-
say that.
If
Yep.
we do one that's kind
Mhm.
of
That's true.
kind of benign.
Yeah, like I could easily nominate Juniper, the building. I mean, like I'm not the
Yeah.
owner. Floyd Craft is the owner of the building, but you know, that building does have historical significance to it.
Mhm.
And we, from a construction standpoint, have done multiple things to try to preserve
Yeah.
that. You know, that would be an easy one. I agree though with the commission doing the, like, you know, buildings.
Yeah.
If folks are, you know, if we don't get nominations for residential.
I think you'll get nominations.
I do too.
Past that.
I think
I think it's
people
a
are-
great idea for
Mhm.
May that
Yeah.
you already have the police written up,
Mhm.
you've already had the
And
Needle
the-
Hall. And then you could actually do downtown in general.
Mhm.
And then you would have how many buildings to highlight, you know, individually into the future. You could do one a week in May just to have that, again, PR and education.
And the city
Yeah.
hall, there's a ghost story, so we can,
Yes.
can
There's
include
probably
that.
ghost story for every space.
Well, good. We're gonna promote that
Yeah.
come fall.
All right, we'll do it. Okay. We are, I'm going to ask for somebody to suggest that we end our meeting. Any,
You have to do lobby visitation or is that?
well, I think we've done the lobby visitation. We reversed
Successful.
our order there a little bit.
Okay.
So anybody want to,
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
okay, second?
Second.
Okay, everybody in favor? Aye. Everybody
Aye.
Aye.
opposed? Okay.